All right, so we're diving deep today into the future of eye surgery, and it's fascinating stuff, really.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about head-mounted surgical robots, from that Science Robotics article, the one about subretinal injections, and how those injections are critical for treating so many eye diseases. But obviously, they
Yeah.
require just incredible precision, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The retina is so delicate, and any unintended movement, like from the surgeon or the patient, could be bad news.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're talking about microscopic precision here, far beyond, what we can normally do. Like even a tiny tremor in a surgeon's hand, that could cause a lot of damage. And then on top of that, you got to think about the patient's head movements too, which honestly,
Hmm.
those can be even worse.
Wow. So how do they handle those movements currently?
Well, right now, a lot of times they use general anesthesia to, keep movement to a minimum during the procedure. But that comes with its own risks, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not exactly an ideal situation. So that's where these robots come in, right? Like they can hold the injection needle perfectly still, even for a long time.
Exactly, exactly. And it's not even just about like steadiness either. Robots can do a lot more potentially. Like say they free up the surgeon's attention so they can monitor the procedure better using tools like OCT, which gives them real-time images of the eye.
Okay, so the robot's like this super steady hand, basically, letting the surgeon focus on other really important parts of the surgery. Makes sense.
Hmm.
But hold on. Even with a robot, how do you account for the patient's head moving? I mean, all those small, involuntary movements, from breathing, maybe even snoring.
That's the big question, yeah. And a huge challenge for any eye surgery, really. There are things they try now, like, strapping the head down, or even trying to keep the eye itself from moving. But those methods have limits, especially with those tiny constant movements we were talking about.
Right, right. So what's the solution?
Well, this is where the research gets really interesting. They're suggesting a head-mounted surgical robot. Sounds kind of sci-fi, I know, but it's a real thing.
Whoa, wait, so the robot's attached right to the patient's head. That's wild. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so by mounting it on the head, it moves with the head, you see, so it minimizes the relative motion between the surgical instrument and the eye. And this particular robot is super small and light, too, weighs less than 2 pounds, so it doesn't add a ton of extra weight or discomfort.
That's incredible. So how'd they test this head-mounted robot?
Well, they used what they call a hybrid study to simulate, real-world conditions. They used a pig eye as a surgical target, but they mounted it on a human volunteer who was wearing special goggles. This way, they could track the volunteer's natural head movements and see how the robot did.
That's so smart. They basically gave the pig eye the ability to move like a human eye. Pretty cool. So what about the results? Could they do the injections successfully with this head-mounted robot?
The results were impressive. The robot was able to form what's called a bleb 100% of the time.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't speak, ophthalmologist, what exactly is a bleb? And why is it so important?
Ah, right. So a bleb is, it's this tiny controlled separation of the retina from the tissue underneath it. And it's a crucial indicator that the medications reach the right spot.
Gotcha. So 100% success rate in forming the bleb, meaning the robot got the medication to the right place every time, even with the head moving around. That's wild. How does that stack up against manual injections?
Oh, well, even when you've got the eye perfectly still, manual injections have trouble reaching that level of consistency. The average success rate is only around 63%, and some studies have even reported rates as low as 40%.
Wow. So this head-mounted robot isn't just more precise, it's way more reliable than traditional techniques. This is a huge step forward. Makes you wonder what else they measured, besides just the bleb formation.
Yeah, they also looked at the injection pressure, which is important, for both patient safety and making sure the medication's delivered properly. They found the robot kept the pressure at around 5 psi, which is considered safe and effective for subretinal injections.
So they've thought of everything. Not only can the robot make the bleb, which is the goal, but it can do it while keeping the pressure just right. Double win for safety and effectiveness. But I'm curious, was the robot doing these injections all on its own?
Not in this study, no. It was what we call teleoperated, meaning a human operator was controlling it remotely. But even with a human in the loop, so to speak, the fact that the robot can compensate for all those tiny head movements, that's huge.
It's like giving the surgeon this high-tech extension of their hand,
Right.
letting them reach a level of precision that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Makes you think, what other procedures could benefit from this kind of technology?
That's a great question. This isn't just about subretinal injections. This research is about showing what head-mounted robots can do as a platform for all kinds of eye surgeries.
Wow. So this could be huge for things like cataract surgery, glaucoma treatment, even corneal transplants. We'll have to explore those possibilities more later. But first, I want to hear more about this robot specifically. Did they find anything surprising during the study? Any challenges they had to overcome? Tell me more about that.
Well, one thing they noticed was that the cannula itself, the injection cannula, its flexibility actually helped compensate for any motion that was still there.
Oh, interesting. So the cannula wasn't like totally rigid.
Exactly. It had some give to it, meaning it could bend a little, and that flexibility helped absorb those tiny movements between the robot and the eye.
Huh. It's like this carefully planned dance between technology and the human body. It's not just the robot itself, but how the surgical instruments are designed too.
Yeah, that's a great point. It shows how important it is to think about the whole system. When you're developing this kind of advanced tech.
For sure. These results are really amazing, though. 100% success rate, consistent injection pressures. What does this mean for, like, the average person? Who needs eye surgery? What's the big takeaway here?
I think this study is a really strong proof of concept. For using head-mounted robots in eye surgery, it shows that this approach can really solve the problem of patient movement, and that opens the door to a future where these procedures are safer, more precise, and maybe even less expensive.
Less expensive. How so?
Well, if these robots can make surgeries more efficient and reduce the risk of complications, it could bring down overall healthcare costs.
That would be fantastic. Making this kind of advanced tech available to more people. That's definitely something we should all be striving for. But I'm sure there are still some hurdles to overcome before we see this in every operating room, right?
Oh, of course. This is still early stage research and development. We need more testing on human eyes. We need to refine the robot's design and optimize the control algorithms for different situations.
Right. And getting through all the regulations will be important too. But it's great to see that these researchers are thinking ahead.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring to see researchers pushing the limits
Yeah.
of what's possible. This research paper is just the beginning.
Yeah.
There's so much more information in the supplementary materials, including videos of the head-mounted robot in action.
Yeah, seeing it move, witnessing its precision and responsiveness, that's so much more powerful than just reading about it.
Definitely. So for our listeners, if you want to dig into the technical details, we highly recommend checking out the full research article and all the extra stuff that comes with it. It's a fascinating look into the future of medical robotics.
And if you're more of a visual learner, there are videos online that show the robot in action. It's worth taking a few minutes to watch them and really appreciate how ingenious this technology is.
I agree. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of head-mounted surgical robots. It's been a wild ride, exploring the challenges of subretinal injections, the amazing solution of a head-mounted robot, and what this could mean for all sorts of medical fields.
Before we wrap up, though, I want to leave you with one last thought. Imagine a future where robots and surgeons work together seamlessly, each one using their strength to get the best results for patients.
I love that. It's a future I can't wait to see. What other medical procedures could be totally changed by this kind of teamwork? Definitely something to think about. As we keep exploring the ever-changing world of medical technology, it really is mind-blowing. To think about robots and surgeons working side by side, like actually improving patient outcomes together, I'm definitely going to check out those videos. So I can see this robot in action for myself. It's amazing how this tech is like blending science fiction with real-life medicine.
Yeah, it really is. And this research just shows how fast things are changing in the field of medical robotics.
It makes you wonder what other medical fields could benefit from this kind of head-mounted robot, right? We talked about eye surgery, but are there other areas where precision and motion compensation are like super critical?
Oh, absolutely. Think about neurosurgery, for example. The brain is so delicate, right? Even the slightest tremor during surgery can have really bad consequences. So a head-mounted robot could provide that stability they need to perform those complex procedures with much more precision than they can now.
It's crazy to think about all the possibilities. I mean, you could have robots helping with tumor removals, repairing aneurysms, even implanting those devices for deep brain stimulation.
Exactly. And it's not just neurosurgery either. Cardiothoracic surgery could benefit a lot from this tech too. Imagine a robot assisting with, say, bypass surgery or valve replacements while the heart is still beating.
That would be incredible. It could really reduce the risks involved with those procedures. What about other areas, though, like reconstructive surgery or even dentistry? Could head-mounted robots work there too?
It's definitely possible. Any procedure where you need extreme precision and a steady hand could potentially be improved by this kind of technology.
It feels like we're on the edge of a whole new era in medicine, where robots and humans are teaming up to achieve some pretty incredible things. It's exciting, but also kind of daunting to think about what this technology could mean.
I get it. Whenever you have these big advancements, it's important to think about the ethics, too.
For sure. But for now, let's just focus on how amazing this research is and the potential it has to change healthcare as we know it. It really makes you appreciate those brilliant minds working behind the scenes to, push the limits of what's possible.
I agree. It really shows human innovation at its best and our drive to create a healthier future.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of head-mounted surgical robots. We covered a lot today, from all the details of subretinal injections to how this technology could be used in different medical fields.
Hopefully this gave you a glimpse into the exciting stuff happening in medical robotics, and maybe even sparked your curiosity to learn more.
As always, thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. Until next time, keep those questions coming and stay curious.